Good afternoon, everybody. Today, rolling right along, almost a week away, right? A week away, season starts. I have Raritan head coach Anthony Vona. Anthony, thank you for joining me.
Hey Nick, thanks for having me. And again, thank you. I'll echo what all the other coaches are saying. Thank you for doing this in your spare time and really promoting girls basketball in the short conference.
Yeah, I love it. We're getting down to it. How has the first week of practice and tryouts gone?
It's been good. Better than expected. We come in and at some point in December, we're like just hoping for a season. So 1 week down, and the girls have really done a great job with, taking care of themselves, staying safe and healthy, and following the protocols.
Yeah, during soccer season, it's tough, teenage kids, and, I noticed, girls have a tough mindset that they want the season to happen. They're willing to do and make the sacrifices, just to make sure the season continues.
Yes, and that's what I've seen with my girls so far. They're willing to take the sacrifices. It's a short season, and for some of them, it's their senior year, and this is the last shot. And at least to have a season is great.
Going into last season, what was, the message and what were you trying to get out of your team? At the start of the season, what were some of the goals that you set?
Yeah, last year was my first year as the varsity coach for Raritan, taking over a team that was loaded with seniors, made it to the state playoffs, had a pretty good record. So coming in, having four new starters that really had limited varsity time, added with Lucy Alberici. And I coached these girls in middle school, so we knew each other. We had chemistry already. It was really just to compete day in and day out. So compete in practice and compete on the court. And no, going, in A Central, you're going up against some of the top teams in the state day in and day out. So it was really just keeping that mental toughness, taking your lumps and bumps, and living to play another day. And that was the message.
Now, you guys were probably, you were probably the toughest division in the state. Do you think that helped contribute, playing such a tough schedule, contributed to, making it to the semis in the Central Jersey Group 2?
Absolutely, it did. I mean, there was, being the 12 seed, not having a record that was, if you looked at it from the outside in, you're like, oh, losing record. How'd they get a 12 seed? There were some teams with better records that were behind us, but definitely helped us. I mean, the speed at which A Central plays, the skill level. So there's the opponents that we faced in the first two rounds. There was nothing that they could throw at us that we hadn't already seen. So our girls were, not only the physical side of it, they were ready for it, but also the mental side.
We'll talk a little bit about the state run a little bit, but first, let's talk about, some of the games that you had, this season. Like we talked about, you were competitive, for a quarter or a half against, the powerhouses. What would, like, the message to the girls when you're going into RBC, or you go into Manasquan? What's the message? Because I know some teams could get a little deflated. Oh, we're playing RBC or we're playing St. John Vianney. What was the message you sent where you got your team, and where they were able to be competitive for part of the game?
Yeah, sure. Walking into, RBC, the gym there, or even St. Rose, and you're seeing 6'4", 6'2", and your tallest girl's 5'9". It could be deflating to some, but we know Raritan's been playing in tough divisions for a very long time. So these girls were used to that. They knew what they were going to face. But I would like to just set small goals for the girls, and it's simple as. And I learned this from a coach I started with, Dennis Caruana, who's the boys varsity coach and the varsity girls volleyball coach, is that we want small goals, and even could be get that coach to use a timeout. And, we're at RBC, and, we hit a couple bomb threes and we go up 9-6 in the first 2 minutes. And, Coach Montano, he must not have been happy. He called a timeout. We ran off the court like we had just won the championship. And it was kind of like trying to get their mindset right. But that was like, that was one of our goals. So it was little things like grab an offensive rebound, be able to, win a tip, create some turnovers. So goals like that I would try against the powerhouse teams. And of course, see if we can hang around for a quarter. because those teams, you got to give it your all right away, pedal to the metal. If not, you're going to get blown out of the gym from the start. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. There's games where, yes, at RBC the first time we're only down 20-14 in the first quarter. But then that was it. Second quarter, we were gassed and they weren't, and then they put the clamps down. And then times where St. Rose or RBC the second time, they weren't having any of that. First from the tip, it was done. But again, the little goals, having that mental toughness that, hey, we're going to take our lumps against those teams, but then we play a team that we're competitive against the next game. Let's see how we respond.
And to me, that's also how you start building a program from the ground up. And we'll talk about it a little later. You're in a small town, trying to keep some of the talent there. To stay home instead of going to, neighboring schools or, the private schools. So to me, it is starting with the small goals, even when you're playing, the powerhouses, and then you just build off that, get the girls' confidence and work from there. Going into, the states, made it to the semis against Rumson, end up losing to Rumson. Just talk the first two games, and do you think, once you were able to get that first win, it gave the team, more confidence to, advance it, and, end up beating South River in the second round up until Rumson?
Yeah, and it really started before that. Playing at Shore Regional the second time, February 7th, that was our state cutoff. And right there, we were about the 17 seed, or, we wouldn't have made it. If we would have lost, we probably would have been the 16 seed and would have had to play Rumson round one. So that was kind of like our Super Bowl. And I talked to the girls and said, you need this one, okay, because this can possibly move us to the 12 seed. I was doing the math like all week and said, if we can get this one, it's one game. So we got to give 32 minutes, all we have. And, again, Shore Regional, well coached, well played, disciplined, not an easy game, especially in their gym. And we had to come from behind in the fourth quarter, down 5. We hit a couple big threes and we hold on at the end. And we knew, okay, now we're the 12 seed playing the 5 seed, and that's Metuchen. We did a, great scouting report against them. But even after that, when the Shore Conference tournament was going on and we didn't make it, we were adding teams that were going to be competitive as well. Edinburgh Memorial, which kind of beat us bad. But then we had Matawan, we had Jackson Liberty.
Yeah, those are
both Matawan and Jackson Liberty pretty well. And again, Jackson, it goes to show the power in the Shore Conference is that then Jackson Liberty comes out in the States and beats RBR.
Yeah.
I mean, the talent level is insane. So having those wins and getting the confidence there, we went on a little 2-game win streak heading into it. And then playing Metuchen in the first round, coach and staff did a tremendous job with the scouting report. Close game at half. And then Lucy Alberici kind of took over in the second half and had a game for the ages, 33 points there. And, we ended out with a romp against Metuchen. So the girls were excited. It was a first state playoff win for Raritan in at least 10 years. Yeah. I mean, they made states, just couldn't get over the hump. So that was kind of like a relief. The girls were really excited and trying to get their focus again and say, oh, well, now we're on, round 2. And again, now it's the 4 seed. So we beat the 5 seed. We go to South River. Not an easy place to play. Their student section was loud, crazy. And that was a game where other girls had to step up. Lucy kind of got in foul trouble early. And girls like Meg Casey and Joey Tarazi. Joey hit 5 threes, I believe, in that game. And then just the defensive side, holding that team to 34 points on their home court in a state playoff game. Just a tremendous game, both sides, well played, coming out, and now we're in the state semis. And it was kind of how I mapped it out when I said, if we could beat Shore, we might see Rumson again. Just didn't want to see Rumson in the first round. We were trying to avoid an A-Central opponent until the semis, and, happy we were there.
Now, getting two wins like that, and like you said, probably first time in 10 years, being in such a small town, do you think that helps the younger girls that are in the middle school see this team's starting to build something, and help keep the players stay home to the hometown?
Yeah, it definitely was a nice thing for the town, and the town kind of rallied around us. They kind of didn't pay attention to girls basketball. It's kind of like, oh, well, they're playing tough teams. They're getting blown out. When's the end of the season kind of. But to have a couple wins like that and have some parents of the younger girls text you, and I don't have an ego. So I tell the
Yeah.
girls all the time, you take the wins, I'll take the losses.
Yeah.
Texting me saying, great job, we're behind you, keep going. It was great for the town. It showed that, we can compete in Group 2, in
Yeah.
Central Jersey Group 2, if we stay in town and work together, have that chemistry, work hard and compete. And it was really assuring to the town and to the girls that, we do have a program and we're very proud of our program and proud of where it's going. And like, I'm taking over, it's only my second year. So I'm trying to build at the
Yeah.
foundation. I'm working closely with the middle school coach and to try and keep
Yeah.
some of our players and all of our players in town.
That's, to me, that's key, is having that good relationship with the middle school, or some towns grammar schools, depending, because there are towns that they try to create that relationship, and the middle school coaches are just not responsive. So I think that would be key to help help build that, a feeder program that's, as they call it, at the middle school level.
Absolutely.
Move on to this upcoming season. A lot of challenges. What do you think are some challenges you might have seen already, that with the COVID, or the girls might be facing this season?
It's kind of the rules and getting them used to when we go live in the gym, like a ball goes out of bounds. It's kind of telling them like they got to get it and get in because the refs don't want to touch the ball.
Yeah.
So getting used to that. And when we're scrimmaging Monmouth Regional tomorrow, and that's going to probably be a lot of just getting used to the little nuances that are going to be for this year. But they're open and they're okay with it. My girls, I mean, we're happy there's a season. We're blessed. And whatever we need to do to keep that going and have a complete season, they're okay with. But it's going to be definitely a learning curve for them because they've been playing basketball for 10 years of life and, used to having the ref hand the ball. And now it's just going to be, hey, you got to listen for him to say go, and we got to get the ball ourselves. So learning for everybody, but we'll get through it and hopefully get back to some kind of normal at some point.
Yeah, hopefully. I knew that was a rule because I was talking to a basketball ref during the soccer season. I was watching his door play, and he was telling me some of the stuff, and I was like, "It's going to be a little weird, especially foul shots." And
Yes, we're used to that ref giving you the ball, and I'm trying to read through everything and tell it to the girls, and they're kind of looking at me puzzled, like I'm making it up.
Yeah.
But, little by little, and I'm sure there's going to be, like I said, a ref's going to be there to help go with some of the new rules and the changes of things, and even the jump ball. Like, okay, we have a coin toss now, so that might be my first goal against St. John Vianney is win the coin toss.
That's funny. I want to start talking about your roster. You had a pretty young team last season. One senior, you had two juniors. One ended up transferring. Let's start with Sarah O'Leary. One of your returning senior. What are you expecting out of her? On the court, and what do you expect of her? As being the senior leader, having a younger class squad.
Yeah, and it was this, and I've known Sarah a very long time, and she's a tremendous three-sport athlete. She's been a varsity athlete for all three sports for her 4 years in high school. So she's a natural leader, and she was a captain last year with Lucy and with Meg. So she was a leader last year, came on, and even this year now she's been very vocal in practice. She leads by example, right? So she's going to be the first one in on a drill. She's the first one in at practice. She is there taking charge, and the girls kind of look to her. She's not going to the kind of girl that's going to get in your face and chew you out. She's just going to be a positive reinforcement, and the effort is going to be there from her. And then the younger girls look to her and say, well, if she's doing it and she's a senior, I better be doing it as well. But Sarah is, and she came back. She had a bad ankle sprain against St. Rose late in the year, and I wasn't sure she was going to make states, but she worked her butt off to get back to states for us. Defensively, I mean, she's just a great rebounder. She's long, that volleyball player in her and softball player, she's long, so she gets her hands in passing lanes. So for her, and if she'll watch this, she's been telling me since 7th grade she can't shoot the ball. I tell her to shoot all the time. But defense, block shots, rebounding, and her passing is phenomenal. The other day in practice, she had it was a one-touch pass, and I never saw that from her before. And I was like, where'd that come from? So she's just always positive and ready, natural leader.
Yeah, looking at her stats from last season, it looks like she just does a little bit of everything, for your team, which is those are the players you need to have those on your team.
Oh yeah, she's going to get on the floor for a loose ball. She'll take the open shot. She hit a bunch of threes last year, which I was happy that she was actually pulling from the 3-point line and making a bunch. And she'll look and say she's not a 3-point shooter, not a shooter, but I trust her with the ball in her hands. She, like you said, you nailed it. She can do a little bit of everything.
Is she the only senior?
We have actually a senior transfer from Keensburg, is Montana Gogan.
Okay.
Who Montana's going to step into a starting role. She's a guard, and so far I've only seen her a week, 6 practices. Love what I see from her. She is fearless. Again, just another natural leader who's going to be quiet and do it. She can get to the basket, and we have some big girls this year, the younger level, the freshman level has some tall girls, and she goes right at them, right at the hoop. And again, fearless, great passer, just so coachable. Again, the challenge is that she's joining a team that, a lot of girls came back from last year, is that she's starting to learn, and especially being that it's so quick of a season with COVID, that's the challenge with her. But she's absorbing it. She's like a sponge. We're filming things and posting them on our team classroom, and she's going home and studying it and making sure that she is ready to go when it comes time to game time.
That's great. I love the players that, just don't spend the time on the court. They're watching film and, studying and trying to figure out how to get better, or, reasons why you do certain things on the court, not just that you're doing them.
Yes.
You had a whole bunch of sophomores last season. Probably start with, Meg and Joy. They led your team in threes, so you're getting a nice part of your offense back. I would loosely carry most of the load, looking at the stats, but nice that you have 2 sophomores that were second and third in scoring points, and first and second, shooting the 3 ball. What does it mean them coming back, and what are you expecting their jump to be from last season?
Yeah, and they're, from when I told them that Lucy was transferring to RBC, they were happy for Lucy. It was never any grudges or anything like that. They kind of just said, okay, now it's us. Now it's, we relied on Lucy so much last year to handle it because she was there. She was the varsity leader. She's been in big games before. Now these girls have been in big games, playing the tough competition. So Meg was with Lucy as far as our 2 point guards go. They were handling the pressure. So Meg is used to that, and she has a girl at RBC her freshman year, transferred back to Raritan last year, and immediate starter. And if you look at our stats, Lucy and Meg are the only 2 girls that played every single game. So Meg rarely came off the court. I mean, our games were close. We never blew anybody out, and really we didn't have a lot of depth where I'm taking Meg off the court even if we're down 30. So Meg was being on the court the whole time. Her motor is nonstop. And again, just an amazing athlete. Soccer player. She plays soccer for Raritan as well. And that's the thing with all of our athletes are multi-sport athletes. But Meg has that athleticism where if you just look at her, she kind of looks tiny, doesn't look like much, but man, she is tough. She's that tough Irish girl, and she can jump. I tell her she can jump out of the gym, and she likes to get to the basket, but she can shoot the 3 and quick, can dribble. So she's kind of our heart and soul on offense. Everything's going to go through her, much like last year where everything kind of went through Lucy. Everything this year is going now through Meg.
How about Joy Tarazzi? Did I pronounce her last name right? Tarazzi. Similar, put up, 2 less threes than her. So it'd be nice to have like that 1-2 punch kind of, and, both of them being juniors.
Yeah, Joey came on at the end of the year, and she was always a 3-point shooter from the time I knew her, from when she was in 7th grade playing for me. She loved the 3-pointer. She has a tremendous shot. And a lot of that helped out with Lucy driving, drive, draw, kick, and Meg kicking out. And we had Joey. She missed some time. She had an injury last year. And then when she came back, kind of got off to a slower start. But then at the end of the year was really carried us through that run where just knocking down not only 3-pointers, but knocking down elbow jumpers, baseline, started to take the ball to the basket once teams realized she could shoot the 3 and were guarding her out there. Then she started taking it to the basket. A tremendous passer as well. She doesn't really get that credit because her 3-point shooting is phenomenal, but just a tremendous teammate. And like I said, Joey on that run with hitting 3s against Metuchen, against South River. I think she might have had 10 10 3-pointers in those 2 games, maybe 9. And then David Rumson kind of down on that and took her away in the state semis. But Joey, again, another tough girl. She'll, she's scrappy. She's going to get into some games, get into some things where I'll have to calm her down, but she's the first one to stick up for her teammate if there's a cheap shot or any kind of thing. She's the first one in there, and 5'4", she'll go up against a girl that's 6'2" and try and get in her face as much as she can. But yes, and she gets on the floor, she's going diving for loose balls. She's not just one of those, I'm going to just stay out here at the 3-point line and shoot. She's all over the court. I tell her DNA is all over every part of the wood floor.
Those were, your key offensive and players. Who else is coming back from last season that you think, or that you expect to have bigger roles with the team?
There's a sophomore, and she got a significant amount of playing time at the end of the year last year. Carmela Petrignani, and her toughness and her ability to shoot the ball was big towards the end of the year. She actually helped out because she was the first girl on. So against South River, when Lucy got in foul trouble, she popped into the game and just grabbing those rebounds where Lucy would usually get, and rebounding. Her passing is crisp, and she's taken more of a leadership role even as a sophomore, being able to knock down some shots. And so far in practice, I've seen, a lot more team game than last year. We're passing the ball, spreading it out a lot more, so that everybody can have an opportunity to hit shots. And to Carmela's credit, she had the ability last year and so far this year there. If she's open, she's left open, she can knock down the jumper. But also her defense, her rebounding. So she was a big part of our run last year in the States, and she'll be a major part of the team this year.
Anybody else returning from last season?
We have a sophomore, Allison Dillon.
Okay.
Much time on the varsity level. She was on the JV team. And Allison, another girl I've coached, from middle school, now her freshman and sophomore year, another soccer player. So another 2-sport athlete. And she's just, and I say this about all my girls, but I think that's Haslam. When you face a Raritan team, the first word line is grit.
Yeah.
Gritty. And sometimes the girls don't like to hear that because they're high school girls, but we kind of take that like, yeah, we're going to give you everything we have. Whether we win the game, whether we lose by 1 or whether we lose by 40, you're getting everything out of us. They hustle. Allison is that girl. I mean, she's sprinting on every play. She is hustling. She is not afraid of contact. And, sometimes I see like if Meg Casey's going up and I see Allison chasing her, I'm like, oh, just please don't tackle her. And sometimes I think she's a goalie in soccer, and sometimes she sees like she's going for a loose ball and going to punch it out of the air. But that's something I love about Allison is that she's going to give 110% every single practice, every single game. So she'll have some time on the court this year on the varsity level just to provide a spark. Maybe when the team, all of a sudden it's getting late in the game and we're sitting, legs are a little weak, little tired early on in the season. She's going to provide that spark for the team.
How about any incoming freshmen? Do you have any incoming freshmen you expect to make an impact this season?
Yeah, I have a 3 incoming freshmen. Again, multi-sport athletes, and I coach them their 7th grade year at the middle school. I'll start with girl Anna Shea, field hockey player, softball player, and basketball player. And I didn't take their official heights yet, but I'm going to say she's about 5'9", and just can do a little bit of everything. She could shoot, she could dribble, definitely can rebound. She's so strong underneath the rim. So I'm looking forward to it because with 2 of the girls, Brianna Daly is another freshman who is hovering around 6 feet tall. We don't usually get that kind of height in Haslam. So to be able to have that and be able to maybe get some offensive rebounds and some putbacks, which it's been a long time since we've been able to do that. So with Anna, with Brianna Daly, and another freshman, Moira McCarran, they have some height, they have some size, and definitely some athleticism where they're all going to be able to contribute and get in there. And I have, like I said, 8 or 9 girls who, depending, especially this year with COVID, quarantining, and I've tried to tell them because they're all competitive and they all want to be on the starting 5. And they're all like, if I put the starting 5 out against the next 5, I see some like heads going down in practice, and I'm like trying to just reinforce that, hey, that starting 5 is going to rotate throughout the year. Just not starting. It doesn't matter if you're first girl off the bench, or last girl off the bench. You're equal, you're valued on this team. And when you're on the court, you need to give 110% and give it your all.
Before we wrap up, I just want to go through the schedule. Obviously in your pod, St. John Vianney is, they're top in the state, so they're going to be top in any division. Just talk, some of your matchups, because after St. John Vianney, probably Homedale is next, and then you're probably pretty competitive pod. Take out St. John Vianney, you probably got a competitive pod.
Yeah.
Just talk about that, and you're probably in one of the better pods in the group. So just what do you think with this schedule? And I know the divisions got changed a couple times throughout the end of the summer and fall. So what do you think, and what do you expect coming out of that pod?
Yeah, and coming from A Central, where we had 2 private schools, Manasquan, Rumson, elite public school programs, plus Homedale, another top 10 team in the Shore. And then again, Shore Regional twice, and even Monmouth Regional. That division was loaded last year. This year, I was joking around. I was like, you know what? Maybe we just drive 10 minutes down the road and play St. John Vianney. And then all of a sudden it came out. It did. And hey, you know what? We're used to playing those programs of, like I said, RBC, St. Rose, SJV right now, #1 in the state. I was waiting for my phone to ring to see if anybody wanted to take them off our hands. It didn't. But what I've been telling the girls in practice is that let's see how long we can compete with them. Obviously, like SJV, and Dawn is such a tremendous coach. They're going to expose every single weakness you have. And that's okay, because that's the first 2 games, and we'll be able to build on that throughout the year. But any success that you can get off of their team is something to build on as well. And those, like I talked about earlier, the little goals, like I said, it might be the coin toss. Let's see if we can that. And that's a win for the day. And go from there. But you're playing, again, #1 team in the state. I think they're number 10 in the country. So again, enjoy it. I tell my girls, you're going to be able to tell your kids one day you played against the #1 team, in the state, and see if you could score. Maybe I scored a couple points against them. And then moving on. So again, we're starting out with the best competition, the best team there is. And then from there, these games are highly competitive. And that's what we were looking for, is to have some competition where each and every day you're going to have to bring your best basketball. That's the Shore Conference. I mean, there's no game in the Shore Conference.
No.
So we know those teams. We played Matawan last year. We played Middletown North last year. We won both of those games. But knowing the girls, being that the girls know each other, the towns are right next to each other, the competition, it just keeps getting better and better. So we're excited about this division, looking forward to it. Again, the 2 games in Matawan, then I think we go to Mid-North, and then Colts Neck, and then Homedale. And Colts Neck and Homedale are dynamite programs as well. So yeah, I had a coach call me up asking about, to change the Homedale game, which ideally, like they're a top 10 team in the Shore, but it's such a big rivalry. Raritan versus Homedale. Darren's such a great coach. And we want to make sure, like, hey, let's see if we can compete against Homedale this year and see where we're at, and then going into the whatever type of postseason there will be.
That's going to be my last question before I let you go. Are you a fan of the way the postseason? Because it seems like a lot of people, even the top teams, they like it where you got a couple different mini tournaments. Sorry, the doorbell just rang. And my dog, believe it or not, that dog's very tiny.
I got a tiny dog too. I'm waiting for her. She's like standing next to me. I'm like, don't, she's gonna start barking.
So are you a fan of the way they did it for this season, where you got a couple different, postseason pods or, mini tournaments?
Absolutely. Ideally looking at it, what soccer did, I'm sure some teams would have liked to do a smaller sectional. It being that soccer did, but it also is tough on the private side, because private schools are so scattered that it's to get in there. We could do a Central Jersey Group 2 where you take the top 8 teams and you can have something, but I guess they're trying to limit the travel, from all different types of counties. So like I've said, this season we're, in December, it was dicey what are they going to do? What's the governor? Are they going to shut down the indoor sports? Are they nervous about it? So any type of postseason is going to be better than nothing. And I do. This is the time of year where this is the type of year to try some new things out. So even if it's not okay, I know it's 1 through 8, but let's say next year, Shore Conference tournament, they do a bracket that's 1 through 16, and then 17 to 32. and they do kind of two different brackets there, an A and a B. And then this way it gets more competitive games.
Yes. Yeah, because the early rounds, St. John Vianney and the RBCs, they're winning the early rounds by 40 points. It could, that's why a lot of the coaches like kind of, smaller bracket, and then you have another bracket, where those, the lower seeded teams could play each other and they could play for something, and those games would be competitive as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially even if it's number 41 to 49 in the short conference, those are going to be competitive games where teams that might not have got a win in their pod have a chance now to the season. They might win 3 in a row, and that's something to move towards. Or even if they made the short conference, just expanded it, and you get teams like St. John Vianney, RBC, St. Rose, Manasquan, like a double bye like they do in the ACC tournament. They give them a double bye into the quarterfinals, and also frees them up to add a little bit more games where they can, go out there and play more higher talented to get ready for states.
Yeah. Okay. Coach, I'll let you go. I appreciate you taking some time out today. And, I wish you and the team luck, and hopefully everyone can stay healthy.
Yeah, that's the goal. And I really appreciate it, Nick. Thanks for doing this. You're taking your own personal time to promote our sport. We really appreciate it. And I thank you so much.
No problem. I'm gonna have to get to a soccer game next season. I did so many basketball players and soccer players to play both sports.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite. As Coach Goody at Jackson always says, you love your soccer players on the basketball court. That's I coach soccer. That's why I lean that a little bit, but I could always tell who plays soccer on the basketball court, just the way they play defense.
They don't stop. They're up and down, up and down, up and down. And as a volleyball coach, also, I'd like to invite you to maybe cover some volleyball for us. Second winter season. It's a fast growing sport. A lot of basketball players do play volleyball, and a lot of basketball coaches are also the volleyball coaches as well.
I do see volleyball is growing, which is good because volleyball was one of my what wasn't a high school sport, but I did enjoy gym class. That was the one sport, one thing we were always looking forward to.
Oh yeah.
So I got a funny story of volleyball. Then I'll stop the interview. My junior year, the volleyball nets were set up in gym class, and there was 3 nets, and basically the whole class was stuck on one court, and just 4 of us played because on the other court because we just took it too serious. They had to keep us 4. We just played 2-on-2. It was crazy, but yeah, I do enjoy volleyball.